very good morning and welcome to our Wednesday reflection here at Holy Saviour Church in Hitchin. Lula and I have recently been on holiday in the United States of America. 10 days of the holiday was visiting national parks in Colorado, Utah and Arizona. Each of the 8 national parks we visited greeted us with an awesome spectacle of majestic geological magnificence. Wow, awesome. It doesn't disappoint, were all words we uttered. I felt the stupendous landscapes we witnessed just gave and gave and gave. In the early morning light or evening setting sun, when crowds were few, there was a sense of the breath of God, his gentle whisper, his spirit passing by, as witnessed by Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 19. It is said that the early Western pioneers and settlers were unsettled by what they saw in the land beyond the open prairies. The familiarity of rural Europe with church, village and community were blown apart by what they saw. Perhaps the need to recreate the familiar and run away from the immensity of God's hand kept these majestic Western landscapes intact. The Native American Indians, particularly the Navajo, had long learnt to live with the landscape before them. Rather like the Australian Aborigines, they were at one with the land that the Great Spirit had made. It was not for them to disturb the balance of nature, but instead to be an integral part of it and respect the great forces at work. Yet modern America has worked to change the forces of nature in the living water that is the key living part of these vast natural landscapes. The Colorado River, literally the muddy Red River, no longer flows the way it once did, where dams have been built for electricity generation and irrigation. The river flows green and is diminished and can no longer reach the sea off Mexico. The Grand Canyon is shaped differently by the hand of modern humankind. Our Anglican 5 marks of mission, which define our Christian response to the gospel call of Jesus, really talk of fellowship in communities shaped by God's love in Jesus Christ. They also talk of good stewardship of the gift of the earth which God has asked us to look after. Somewhere between the evangelical and material zeal of many an American Christian and the long story of the Native Americans living in peace with God's creation, perhaps there is a truth about God's grace gifting us many wonderful talents and capabilities, but also being at one with the awe of the world we have inherited and the people we share the space with. The hymn for this reflection today is How Great Thou Art. God bless and have a wonderful week. Thank you.